Anime Addicts, this podcast is brought to you by our lovely Anime Addicts community, keeping this podcast ad-free. If you want to help support the show, get all of our exclusive content, free access to the Discord, show notes, and of course that warm feeling you get inside when you do a good thing, you can go to our Patreon page, or you can go to our website, AAAPodcast.com/join. That'll get you to where you can support the show. You get all of our exclusive goodies. And again, you'll be helping out your favorite podcast. And now, it's time to start the show.
Get ready! You're about to listen to the Anime Addicts Anonymous Podcast. Make your anime addiction worse at AAAPodcast.com. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Welcome to 782. That's the episode number, and 3 is the number of hosts we got. We have Mason, we have Andrew, and we have Caroline, all here to join forces to make your anime addiction worse. We are the Anime Addicts, and we stream live every Sunday on Twitch and YouTube, and then we release it on all podcast platforms that you're probably hearing this on. But thank you all of us here today to join and praise anime and just do all the things we do. We are on Twitter, we're on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Most importantly, we're on the Discord. And the best way to find that is to go to AAADiscord.com or our website, AAAPodcast.com, where you can click on the thing to join the Discord. And while you're there, you might as well send us some mailbags and do a lot of fun stuff there, because we are powered by you guys. And really, you guys make the show tick, as evidenced by the fact that our main topic today is Anime Shark Tank, where you write in submissions for anime that you think would do gangbusters, big numbers, and we let you know if we think we agree with your idea, as well as our review today, which will be Flower and Asura. Kind of just whiplash through that opening. How are you guys doing, Caroline and Andrew, on this fine June day?
Pretty good. Yeah, doing pretty good. Pretty good.
The room is looking really clean.
It's funny you say that, Mason. I just pushed a ton of stuff just off to the screen. I have a ton of laundry to look through.
If that's not why don't we take our problems and push them off camera
somewhere else?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if you guys can see, like, I have another bed in this room that is just covered in things that I'm like, that's another day's problem. Luckily, it's just off screen, so I can pretend that I'm a cleanly person.
I like to think that all around Caroline's camera, 360 degrees, is just clutter and mayhem, and she just cleans that one section of the room every day.
Honestly, yes.
Nice. Andrew, how are you doing? Looks like you got a bunch of cleanliness going on as well. You're drinking some beverage.
Yes, as the number one VV or an ETA fan from FF9, I think his favorite smoothie would also be a mango pineapple smoothie. Me, on the other hand, I'm also not pushing too many things aside, because all my clothes is just behind me on a box of Lego, so...
He's like that music video. He just wears all his laundry at once, so he doesn't have to put it away. He just takes it off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and he just lightens up throughout the week. Does anyone not like a mango smoothie? I would submit no.
There are some crazy people there, and those who are allergic to mango or pineapple.
Mangoes, they're worth the allergy. It's like peanut butter. Just do it. You know, it's why live without mangoes and peanut butter.
The Anime Addicts Anonymous Podcast does not recommend eating peanut butter if you are allergic to peanuts.
But Mason does. And if you're not listening to me, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Let's get to the big news of the week, because we got a lot to talk about today.
It's time for big news of the week.
My big news of the week is we have a crossover happening for the ages across the seas. Let me just pull up the image for those watching live on... Oh, look, I did that first try. I'm so good at this. I'd say I prepared in advance, but that's not the case. Yeah, we have you can't see my notes if I do that. Yeah, so we have a crossover between Lego and One Piece, and you can purchase, if you desire, a plethora of cool Lego options styled after the Netflix One Piece live action. We have the Going Merry pirate ship, as well as a couple other sections such as the Barati floating restaurant, Battle at Arlong Park, Buggy the Clown Circus tent, and the Windmill Village hut. Are any of you guys interested in Legos? Do you play with Legos? Would you get any of these sets?
Literally have a box full of minifigs, or several stages full of minifigs behind me.
Mm-hmm.
On my desk is just a ton of Lego over there. I mean, these are going to be super expensive. I kind of want like most of this, just because I would at least want the Going Merry pirate ship. Though I bet you that set's probably going to be like US $300 along with like the Barati
not as
floating restaurant.
Bad as you think. The floating restaurant is the most expensive at $330, but the Going Merry is a surprisingly affordable $140. Now that sounds like a lot of money, and it is, but like for modern day Lego of that size, of like the big premiere, like I think the Going Merry is going to be the most popular of the set, is probably
of course
is probably pretty reasonable. Now, my big hesitation, besides the fact that where would I store such a Lego display, is that this is all Netflix live action, and something about that just I can't do. Like when I go to a bookstore, say there's a book I really want to read that was made into a movie, if they like replace the cover with like now a modern movie picture, and it like has like the movie cover instead of the normal, like I wouldn't get that. Like that feels wrong to me, in the same way that this being like, oh, it's One Piece, but it's live action One Piece, like that's fine.
Yeah,
I'm glad for Netflix and I'm glad for One Piece, but this isn't the avenue I'd want it to be presented in.
I think it's just the fact that it's an adaptation of an adaptation.
Yeah.
And not an adaptation of an original, which it feels like once you get too far from the original, then it's kind of weird.
Now, I mean, that's always going to be the case with toys, to be fair.
Yeah.
Toys are always going to be a little bit different. And honestly, they don't make a lot of anime Lego in general, even in Japan. It's not like one of those weird things where Japan has like anime exclusive Lego sets, because the Lego process is pretty particular for the most part. The fact that we're getting probably a couple of new pieces means that Netflix definitely put some money behind this, because if I remember, my friend used to do a project with the Lego video game side, and he got to go to their factory. For what I remember hearing, it was something on the order of the mold for a new piece is like minimum like $10,000 USD.
At least.
And on top of that, the one of the examples on the article that you shared with us, Mason, it shows Luffy doing his like plastic stretching thing. So he has like very specialized arms for a Lego piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was kind of upset that Zoro, like, he couldn't put his swords in his mouth. But yeah, a die for a Lego piece is extremely expensive because their tolerances are astronomically insane. Like, there's a reason why they're a premium product, even if they just are like, oh, it's a cute kid's toy. But no, that's some serious engineering behind it. I just feel like this was a definite shoe-in, just because I think Lego has like a Netflix show called like Piece by Piece, like One Piece. Like the connection was already there. It was, kind of laughable it took this long. And I feel like getting a Lego series is right up there with like the breakfast cereal crossover kind of thing of just, if that has happened, you've made it as a franchise, as a property. So good for One Piece. I probably wouldn't get any set, but I definitely know there are members of this podcast who would, who aren't on today, to fanboy and girl all over it. But good for One Piece fans. If you're interested,
Showdown peeps.
Yeah, if you're interested in checking it out, pre-orders are currently up, and the sets release in August, so right around the corner. So get on it if you want. What do you got, Caroline?
All right, just something small this week because I just couldn't find anything that I really wanted to talk about. But To Your Eternity's manga has ended with the final chapter published on June 4th in Japan. and the 25th and final volume will launch in Japan on August 12th. So the To Your Eternity anime went up to season 2 has covered up to the 12th volume of the manga. So if they plan to fully adapt it, anime watchers are only halfway through the story here. But To Your Eternity will continue with its 3rd season in October, so it's definitely a possibility we'll get a full adaptation here.
Yeah, I haven't been following up either the anime or the manga, but you love to see stuff getting to a proper conclusion. I saw this as well as Kaiju number 8's manga is also getting to its final couple chapters, I think. So, end of an era for 2 long-running series, but To Your Eternity is pretty good. I need to get back into it.
It's definitely hit a major turning point at the end of the 2nd season, so I am curious to see how they continue with this.
Are you going to keep watching it, you think?
Yeah. I mean, season 2 was different, but it was still good. It had some really good parts. I still kind of gravitate more towards season 1, but the turning point of the finale of season 2 is certainly an interesting one that I really do wonder how they're going to move forward.
Awesome. Hope they can keep it up. And Andrew?
So keeping up on that Final Fantasy train that I started in Hobby Addicts earlier, I am talking about the fact that during the Sony State of Play, it was announced that we are getting a remaster of Final Fantasy Tactics, and it's called the Final Fantasy Tactics: The Evilist Chronicles. So this goes back to the game that was originally on the PlayStation, widely considered one of the top tier Final Fantasy games, even though it's not a mainline game. It's not just a top tier non-mainline Final Fantasy game. It is just a top tier Final Fantasy game that people put up there. Great story, a lot of political intrigue. This is basically sort of like the Game of Thrones of Final Fantasy before they tried to do it with Final Fantasy 16 to some extent, in a lot of ways. And I'm not going to spoil any of the story or anything. It's a great game. It's going to be coming out on September 30th for the PlayStation 4, 5, the Switch 2, the Xbox, and the PC via Steam. And essentially, it is a remaster. And what they changed with this is that they added voice acting, which didn't exist in any of the previous remakes. So we had the War of the Lions remake, which fixed up the translation, because the original translation had a lot of modern English, and so the War of the Lions update gave it a more oldie English kind of feel, which is pretty solid. And also, for those of you who are wondering, this is the game where people have sort of like Mandela effect added the attributed the quote, if the penalty for a crime is a fine, that law only exists for the lower class. I still believe that it's in the game, though I don't remember ever seeing it, but someone did that. I think somebody also said, I think it comes from the fact that what purpose do laws serve, even if those who would enforce them choose not to pay them heed? And I think that even though that may not be in the game specifically as those lines said as to the exactness, it is the philosophy of that game and what the game story, the writer and all that was essentially trying to evoke with the story and how the story progresses. And also the game might have a few cool cameos. I don't know if they're going to add some new cameos now that it has been a while since it, because the original PlayStation 1 had a cameo from Cloud where you got to play as Cloud. And then when they did the War of the Lions, they added Cloud and the people from FF12. So I don't know if they're going to add one, or maybe Sid. Is it Sid or Cedric or whoever it is, the main character from Final Fantasy 16, as one of the characters, extra characters in this game as well. That could be pretty cool. But yeah, they also improved the UI. Hopefully they improved a lot of the lag issues that comes from the game's programming. That was a major thing with the game at the one point. But they did say graphical improvements, quality of life features, updated and optimized UI. And if you don't care about any of that, you can just play the classic version. I literally own this game on so many different platforms. I own it on the PSP. I own the original PlayStation 1. I own the PSP War of the Lions version. I own it on the iPad when Sony started releasing all their stuff, or Square Enix started releasing their stuff. I technically, I think, own it on the Switch as well. I also maybe own it on my PS3. Anyway, I own this game and I love it. And I'm glad I'm getting a remake, and I look forward to buying it for my Switch 2, which I still haven't received yet.
Oh, sad. Can you even get the original on the PS5? Like, is it available
as a
on the
download?
store? Okay, yeah, that's good.
On the store. It's usually the War of the Lions remake because that has the much better translation, which I do agree it is a much better translation for sure.
No, I want the Gen
and I heard a lot of good
translation.
things about the character voices. They sound sort of what you expected those characters to sound like. So I'm looking forward to this if you haven't guessed.
Yeah, I can feel the excitement. And for those of you who don't want to be screaming at your podcast, if you know, Clive is indeed the main character of FF16. So place your bets now if he'll make it into this remake. But good for you, Andrew. I'm excited. Are we ready to get mean and angry and judgmental?
Oh, yeah.
Shark Tank time.
Who are the sharks? They're self-made business experts worth billions. Andrew, purveyor of Gundam and all-around machine head, he opened his own franchise of car conversion auto body shops and piloted a new TV series called Pimp My Gundam. Mason, retail empire king and all-around food fanatic, started a grassroots movement and raised $500 million through his new retail food-themed line of skin creams called Pleasures of the Flesh. Caroline, a once humble social media giant turned queen of all media when she founded Otome Radio and built a net worth of $5 billion, blanketing the world in Otome radio waves. These are the sharks, and this is Anime Shark Tank.
So as I said at the top of the show, this segment really doesn't happen without you guys going to AAAPodcast.com, clicking on the Mailbags and More button, and submitting your Shark Tanks. So we try to keep it to not too many words. I did edit some of these down just for brevity, but we like to see a title, a general plot synopsis story, what is it about, and why is this show going to make big money moolah for us, your investors, our sharks. So head on over to AAAPodcast.com, and while you're there, also submit, mailbags, hentai mailbags, topic requests, all the stuff. We really appreciate it because I'm not clever enough to come up with new ideas every week, and we need to outsource it to you folks. So, who wants to read the first one that I picked from one of our own hosts to give us an example of how this gets done?
Yes. I'll read it. This is from Raggedy Doctor trying to show people how it's done, or maybe how not to be done. I don't know. I haven't read it yet. All right. The title is Accidental Hero, The Prophecy Must Be Stopped. And here's the synopsis. Rendar the Bone Crusher is your average, mild-mannered, bone-crushing demon lord who loves nothing more than to terrorize the local townsfolk in the village neighboring his humble citadel out in the countryside of the Demon King's vast domain. However, one day, while Rendar engages in some run-of-the-mill torturing, his victim relays a prophecy of an unlikely hero who will rise up, seek the tutelage of an ancient master, gain an array of legendary weapons, and form a party with a member of each of the subjugated races to defeat the Demon King. Being essentially part of the evil's middle management, Rendar fears the death of the Demon King would ruin his cushy lifestyle. Rendar sets out to stop this unknown hero and foil the prophecy. However, in his attempt to stop the hero, Rendar proceeds to accidentally fulfill every part of the prophecy himself. Join Rendar on his quest as he accidentally becomes the hero that was promised. Production will be by Studio Madhouse. Length will be 12 episodes, and the series will be directed by Takeomi Kanasaki and written by Makoto Uezu, which, I don't know who they are, so, but he's going really in-depth here. Money-making idea. In addition to the standard merch, there will be a movie finale as well as a gacha game featuring members of the various races from the show that make up Rendar's party/harem, including elves, pixies, succubi, catgirls, etc.
Yeah, so there are
First
some
off,
immediate
guys-
strengths to this.
Yeah.
First of all, his use of not punctuation, but symbols in the title. You got colons, you got exclamation marks. People love that. Second of all, this was written for an anime audience. You can tell because every sentence had the word Rendar, the main character, in it. So you knew it's Rendar every time doing everything. So very, very clean writing by the doctor, I must say. This is unique because it's not an isekai going to a fantasy world. It just automatically starts in the fantasy world, which I always appreciate. So it's off on good footing in my book, but I think it really turns up a notch at the very last sentence when you realize, oh, this is actually, potential for harem hijinks and like that kind of thing. It's more of a comedy show than just a action one, which I felt like it was leaning towards at the beginning. So I'm on the fence. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so I'm out. I don't see any giant robots in here, unfortunately. Wow. And that is predominantly what I'm looking for when I'm looking for these ideas that people bring to us. I'm looking, give me a giant robot. I see you have some merchandising opportunities in there, but think about the robot kits you could be making and all the more money you could be making off of people with that. The waifus are there, but I'm missing a robot of some kind. It doesn't even have to be mechanical.
A waifu robot.
Well, I'm sure if Raggedy was here, able to defend himself, justifying this prompt that he wrote probably 2 years ago, before knowing you might be one of the sharks. If I was him, I would say, I listed his party harem including elves, pixies, succubi, catgirls, etc. As Caroline mentioned, they could easily find a race of oppressed waifu robots that would join the party. Is one robot enough to sway you?
Here's what my offer is. Throw in one transforming giant robot sequence in and for a 10% investment.
10%. Okay. So still very just dipping a toe in, but okay.
Yeah, I don't see too much of a robot potential here, and that's where I made a lot of my money is in the mecha
that's fair. He should have known better. Raggedy, why didn't you look into the future? Caroline, what are your thoughts on Rendar and his shenanigans?
For me, I'm seeing a lot of things that I am not a huge fan of in anime, being a male main character. No, I'm kidding. A male main character who seems to be the reluctant hero and yet is also a torturer. So that feels a little bit weird. Is also going to join up with a party of people that he was subjugating previously and probably still wants to subjugate considering he is a reluctant hero. And I don't know, it's just another party has to go defeat the Demon King. Just not for me, Rags. Sorry. Wow. I don't think I can invest.
And Caroline, a lot of people might get caught up in the whole bone-crushing demon aspect. But he also says that he's mild-mannered. And considering he doesn't explicitly say that Rendar's hair isn't black hair, he could just be a bland black-haired protagonist in the wings. So
yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. It's just a lot of things I've already discovered I'm allergic to.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I think you're voted out of this. So I'm sorry, Raggedy, but as good of a pitch as it was, it's not going to make the cut. Oh.
I would spray you down with water, and every time you say I don't know, I'd hit you with an electric cattle prod.
Wow. That's got to hurt. So one down.
Seems appropriate for the torturer show.
Will we find anything, fitting indeed, that catches our eye? Andrew, would you like to read the next one?
Yes! All right. Well, if we all heard what I said last time, we may know where I'm going with this one. But this one comes from listener Yellow Edge 64. And the title is A Friend for the End of the World! ! The last girl on Earth is a zombie? Interrobang? Or reverse interrobang? In the year 20XX, a new miracle weight loss supplement has the unfortunate side effect of causing the customers to crave higher than normal amounts of protein. And as soon as someone gets bitten, people cry, zombie! and the government moves to launch nukes at every major city, killing nearly everyone. A boy who was fat in his youth ultimately decided to get fit through conventional diet and exercise instead of the supplements. He is outside of the fallout zone of his city when he runs into his childhood crush, who did take the supplement. She's lucid, but very hungry. Can the two of them find a cure and survive? So this is 2 12-episode seasons minimum. And the genre is post-apocalyptic survival horror / romantic comedy. Yeah. I think if I needed to invest in this particular type of endeavor, you can't really put robots into this kind of zombie. Maybe you can do a power armor section, but this is like really falling into the romantic comedy genre. And yeah, if I would even want to think about investing, I don't see this going past a season anyway. Your 2-season minimum is a little high. You might need to like rework your expectations of how good that you think this could do in the market. But I do see a weird niche market where it could thrive potentially, but that niche market just doesn't exist for me.
Yeah, I think the premise is kind of interesting, but just the leading question, can the two of them find a cure and survive? It doesn't really give me the interest for the full 2 12-episode seasons. I kind of need to know a little bit more about who else is on this planet, and if she really is the last girl on Earth, why? Like, they both survived. Is that really the last girl that nobody else got to manage to kill yet? I don't know. So, I mean, it's not bad. I can always be down for like zombie stuff. So it's a toss up for me. What do you think, Mason?
I think this sounds fun. Like, I'm picturing Zom 100, but it doesn't go to shit after the beginning. Like, I think there's potential here, and I know Mitz would be all over it with the healthy aspect, and it kind of really, in 2025, reading this, it definitely feels like Lazarus in an aspect where everyone takes this miracle drug and it's awesome, but oh no, actually it's bad and everyone's in danger because of it. It's similar to that in a way, but not quite the same. I like it. It takes the zombie formula but adds a little romantic twist to freshen it up a bit. Not saying that's never been done before, but I think it's got potential. I'm kind of with Andrew on, this is a good 12-episode single season thing. The 2 seasons is a bit of an ask. I mean, just looked at what happened with The Walking Dead and how that just kind of started going further and further off the rails. But I think at its core, there's some good ideas here. As long as it doesn't run too much into like, oh, we got to eat clean fruits and vegetables and be healthy. Like, I think that needs to like just be the setup and not be a recurring part of the show. Like, I don't need to be preached to about how to eat out of this anime. But I think you do that, you clean it up, you get a partnership with like McDonald's and make like a green burger to eat like for zombie burgers. Like, I think you make that happen. So I'm in. I think a 50% stake for 1 season. Prove it to me you can do it well before you get the 2nd season.
I think if somebody's going to ask for a 2nd season in their pitch, they should include like a little teaser for what the 2nd season might include.
A long-term plan, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
So I think I'll go in with this with you. I see a little promise here. Still not totally confident, but I think we can at least see what this person's got.
There we go. I don't have a drop for it, but just imagine the bicep handshake between Arnold, myself, and the other guy, Caroline, just being like, "You son of a bitch, I'm in." So there you go. Thank you, Yellow Edge. You make the cut.
All right, Mason, this next one is all you, and you get to have all the fun words.
Yeah, so I am going to butcher the pronunciation of this. Considering I butcher American words, let alone Irish ones, I'm going to mess this up. But this comes to us from Grandpapa, and it's Kuhal? What is it? I looked it up earlier, and I forgot.
Oh wow, you actually looked it up.
Kuhalanes, whatever. Hound of Ulster. So this write-up actually did not include anything about this famous character because it's kind of assumed this mythological person. If you don't, here's like a crash course summary. So this is a powerful knight and demigod from medieval Irish literature. It's found in this epic series of works called the Ulster Cycle, named after Ulster, this northern province of old-timey Ireland. And he's shown up in a couple anime franchises, from Fate Stay Night as one of the Lancer people, and I think he's in Persona 5 as well as one of the kind of summony creatures you can get. So, big, powerful entity, and the pitch on why this would be a good adaptation for anime reads as such. There's no cycle of myth more anime-ready than this. There's sports, as in they have Iron Age hurling, a school training arc in the Castle of Shadows. He's taught by another name I'm going to mess up, Scathach, this great warrior who fears her big sister. It's boys love because his best friend / rival / lover Ferdinand. There's hentai in this because he has sex with his aforementioned teacher and his sister. Wow, very based.
Her sister, not his sister.
And her sister. Gotcha. So
okay,
never
just making
mind.
sure.
No incest. Incest off the table. If that's what you were looking
just
for, Andrew,
hentai.
I'm sorry. There's no robots, no incest, and no robot incest. So, sorry. And he transforms like a Celtic Goku with a hero light shining around him in battle. And it's Grandpa says there's so much fighting, so much slaughter, politics, romance, snubbed goddesses, and tragic feels. Money made in the usual Blu-rays and figures. Soundtrack fusing Japanese metal and traditional Irish music and tourism. A future would be researching locations throughout Ireland, providing an opportunity for organized tours, as with Game of Thrones. And I will say, this sounds awesome. I love more Vinland Saga, epic stories from like a Western European place, but pretty undiscovered in the general Japanese or American folklore repertoire. It'd be a new and exciting way to learn about this guy who I definitely butchered the name of twice, and I'm going to look it up while you guys tell me what you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's always a little bit of interest when bringing some medieval Western stories into anime form. I feel like I need a little bit more of a story, because I know you rattled off a whole bunch of things that I guess happened in the source material, if you will. However, I'm just still not very familiar with this character, what he does, what his goal is. I feel like I would need a little bit more of that to know exactly what the story's going to be, instead of just some points of interest from the source material. However, it's different from the typical anime that we get. So I think if you're able to do it well, it could be a standout show. And a soundtrack fusing Japanese metal and traditional Irish music would be pretty cool.
It is Kuhulin, I think, or Kuhulin. But just look up a lot of the words that I just said, and you might find a very big Wikipedia about this guy. How about you, Andrew?
Oh, yeah. So I would be willing to put my funding behind this show, though I would request one change to the entire concept.
Is it the robot incest?
No, I would change all of these characters I would change it to the mecha genre, and I would make all of these characters pilots of mechas that represent their different forms. This would increase merchandising yield by a good percentage. I think also it would hit a niche market in a lot of different ways. I think it could appeal to the East and to the West at the same time, and draw in some of that, maybe that Fate Stay Night kind of crowd. Yes, the main character, I think, can use a lance as his mecha's main ability, whatever. But I would say I would only go in if you're willing to make that change to this concept.
Which honestly is not as crazy as it seems, because there are actually several examples of anime from Western source material that got turned into mecha anime. For example, Gankutsuo, the Count of Monte Cristo, became a mecha by the end. So did Romeo and Juliet. They made into a mecha by the end. So it's not that crazy.
It's a little crazy, but to Andrew's point, there really is so much money in mecha. That's figures are so cool, and that's a fair point. I think you leave it, very Villain Saga esque, and just have these larger than life, figures transported into that world. But I think this is awesome. This kind of very much falls in line with the kind of historical fiction way to experience a past that we can't see nowadays, and have it envisioned in an anime would be fantastic. I love this idea. If not for just, I will be able to learn how to pronounce these characters' names, even if it's, with a Japanese style. But I'm in for it. So once again, I think this one gets a pass. QQ Holland, Hound of Ulster, make it an epic, and I'll be there. You want to get the next one, Caroline?
All right, this one is from Boring Girl. All right, the submission is a twist on the villainess genre. Here's the title. I've reincarnated into the prince meant to slay the villainess, but I don't want to. That's funny. The synopsis. Reina is on a family holiday with her annoying siblings, attempting to paddleboard at a tropical reef when she would rather be left alone reading. Suddenly, Jet Ski Kun knocks Reina off of her board and she falls into the reef, hitting her head, drowning, only to wake up as Prince Wilhelm, about to attend a prestigious magical school just like the one Reina had finished reading about. On Wilhelm's first day, he's put on the school council along with the aristocrat Dagmar and a commoner on a scholarship, Louisa, where they're tasked with a commoner. Where they're tasked with putting on a range of school activities and productions. Dagmar and Louisa are competitive and bicker often, but Wilhelm knows that every negative interaction could build dark energy in Dagmar to turn her evil. Instead, he plays the amicable mediator between the two girls to bring out Dagmar's and Louisa's leadership and cooperative abilities. And that's what we have in there. Yeah, there's no marketing scheme or anything.
But I feel like there's more to the plot, like the whole meant to slay the villainous part, but don't want to. I felt like it was going to get to...
Yes, I feel like we need to tie it all together. We got part of your synopsis. I feel like we need to tie it all together. However, this is kind of my bread and butter stuff, even though I can't say that it's not the most unique. It certainly follows a lot of the same story beats that a lot of these villainous genre shows and the isekai into your storybook and into a magic school and that kind of thing. I have a tendency to like these shows despite my criticisms. So I think with some more work on your pitch and giving us, that rounding conclusion, giving us more of that marketing scheme, and a little bit of tweaking here and there, I think I could, back this show. However, as it is now, I don't think I can. What do you guys think?
I love the title. I love the energy it's coming in with. I just don't know, with this whole jet ski Kun incident, like, is the show going to persist with it being more comedic? I guess I want to know, how this person as the prince will be like trying to, like, who's the villainess? Who are we trying to kill here?
It's Dagmar, because apparently, like, dark energy is turning her evil, so he has to, like, keep the peace.
Yeah, it's I feel like it's a good... I felt like the title did more heavy lifting than the whole swatch of words below it. So I think you just revised the pitch and you got something there. But as it is right now, I'm too scared. I'm too scared of the jet ski Kun. I'm backing out. How about you, Andrew?
What are your thoughts?
Or is the jet ski not mecha enough for you?
Sold.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you can really throw a mecha into this concept and make it work. Unless they're going full like Utena style, Rosa Versailles style kind of thing, which I don't think this is what it's aiming for.
What if the negative energy turns the villainess into a monster mecha.
Ooh.
Look, not everything needs to be a mecha. I'm just saying I'm looking for phenomenally mecha when I support the stuff here. I don't need to be boxed into a particular box just because. But I would say the title is definitely marketable in
I
today's
agree.
society. I don't think the concept matters, so I would say no, but I think you could sell it as is, just on the title alone, because people are just that simpy.
No, I had a thought, and that's why I gasped earlier. I don't know if you heard. What if what if Dagmar, by getting all that negative energy and turning into that mecha, a jet ski inspired mecha? So now the main character is being confronted with its killer. Technically, again, it's full circle. I think there's a lot of symbolism in that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
this
but
needs a couple
seen the
rounds
title.
at the editor.
You've seen the title. It's not supposed to be deep or engaging in any particular way like that.
But it could be fun.
Maybe
Have you
instead
thought
of
of that, Bridgie?
It's fine, I guess. Not for me at the end of the day.
maybe we've been reading it.
Unfortunately for me, come back to me with a slightly revised version, and maybe we'll talk.
Maybe we've been reading it wrong, and it's not. I've reincarnated into the prince, meant to slay the villainess, but I don't want to slay as in like kill. Maybe it's slay as in like slay, like make her really fashionable and cool and hip. Like maybe that's
All right, you know what, Mason? I think you're right.
yeah. So
I hope not, because that other one makes it a little bit more homophobic.
Fair. Good ideas. I think we're gonna reject this one though for now.
Part of what I have to do every day is to try and find opportunities where I put money in harm's way and I get a return. I don't pick places where there are thousands of dead and rotting corpses.
Jesus,
Because of the
Lord.
jet ski.
Okay, that was a weird one.
Are these new? I don't think I heard that one before.
We're mixing it up here. Thank you, Mitz, for putting together all these drops, and we appreciate it. But will the next one fare any better?
That's me. Okay, so if I understood anything based off of what happened in the Discord, I think I'm supposed to pronounce this from listener Scyther with a lot of weird.
It really,
Well,
I
yeah,
think it's
no,
either
but-
Sa-Jinther or Sginther.
I think it might be Scyther or Scyther, because he put a Scyther in the picture when we were talking about pronunciation the other time.
We're like, the thing is that we are all right and wrong at the same time, because he's told me in the past that he does not have a specific way to pronounce this username. He's never actually, decided on a way to pronounce it.
Well, I'm going to go off of what they put in the thing where they put an image of a Scyther, and I'm just going to call them Scyther. So Scyther with a whole bunch of with the weird spelling. There you go. That's your new name. Has brought to us Isekai Magic Slave, a 12-episode show by Studio C2C. Gojo gets reincarnated into a magic world with the task of defeating an evil lord. After leveling up and earning some coin, he manages to save up enough to buy the beautiful cat girl slave Nia.
No!
After a few weeks traveling, he finds himself falling for her and agrees to undo the spell of binding. After she agrees, a pact spell, they will always stay together. That night, Nia kills Gojo and begins a quest of revenge on everyone who ever done her wrong. And due to the pact spells, Gojo's spirit remains binded to Nia, and she uses his magical power to help her on her quest, causing Gojo agonizing pain every time. Now, forced to be Nia's spirit slave, Gojo must do what he can to help her in her noble quest, whilst trying to keep enough spirit energy to survive. You know what? I kind of can buy into this. No mecha required. I kind of like the reversal on the whole slave attitude here. I don't know if just like it's kind of like a reversal on like all the things I didn't like about Shield Hero.
It's
So
like a deconstruction of the slave girl genre.
Yeah, I can kind of fuck with that actually. I think the mecha lacking aside, I think I could put in like a 50% stake into the production of this show.
It's one of those shows you can already see episode 1 coming across like very generic, very basic, very bland on purpose for the end of episode 1 twist of her, righteous retribution and like path of fire warfare.
Yeah, like Goblin Slayer,
Promise Neverland.
Not,
whatever.
Yeah, that really crazy first episode that didn't need to exist, where all the good stuff actually happens in episode 2.
Exactly.
I was thinking the same thing. Really, you had me in the first half. But I do see this show potentially becoming a sleeper hit of a season. Like, I don't know if it would lead the pack, but I can definitely see it gathering a lot of people saying, oh, no, you just have to wait until the end of whatever episode this twist comes in. It could even be like episode 2 or something like that, where they really keep you thinking like, oh, this is going to be one of those shows. But it's really, Slave Girl goes on a rager, which I can get behind. So, I can see this working.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. I think my 3 points of note are, 1, I think you got to go with a different name than Gojo. I think that name just has too much recognition elsewhere to try to get your foot in the door here. I think you go with something else. Number 2, I really think this whole, speaking of Gojo, why does his spirit really need to stick around? I get that it's for magical power and quest, but that's really got to be cleaned up. And you're going, are we supposed to feel pity for this guy? It does have some weird connotations about the nature of accusations and how deceptive people are, and so we shouldn't have pity on the slave people in other shows. You really got to nail down what you're trying to say with this. And other than that, though, I think it's got to be just really good animation off the start, because I think most people, myself included, would start this episode and see it being so generic and oh, it's another slave girl, drop. You need to have enough quality writing and animation to tide people over until that twist comes, whenever it is, whether it's episode 1 or 2. So with that said, I think this could sell. I think this could be fun. I'm in.
I think you have to go with a what was it? A boring girl type of title. Give it a title like Reversal. I was once a slave and now I'm going to get revenge on all of the people who have wronged me. Something that.
I disagree, because I feel like this title, it really it made me think that this was just going to be another one of those shows. And I feel like if you spell it out like the long light novel style, it's going to ruin the allure,
How about this?
It's gonna give it away,
How about this alternative I just thought of? It's going to be called, it's the same Isekai Magic Slave, but we're going to put a comma between everything. So it's going to read Isekai, Magic, Slave. And you're going to think at first, it's that guy's path. He was Isekai'd, he got his magic ability, and now he got his slave. But really, it's all descriptors of her, Isekai, Magic, Slave. It was her story the whole time, and it recontextualizes the title. Maybe.
Interesting.
I think this is a lot going for it. Play a ka-ching sound effect, Scyther, Sujinther, however you go. Mr. Man, you made it. You're in the upper echelons. Congrats.
Also possibly Scyther.
Maybe it's also Bob.
About money
Maybe it's
making
just Bob.
ideas there. So, yeah, wanting to point that out. We don't really know if this is going to make money.
Fair, but people, they love the isekais, and we can workshop that later. We have one more submission. This comes to us from God Emperor of Dune. It's another long one. It's called The Thrill Is Gone. This is a 3-episode OVA, 45 minutes long each, so some beefy ones. Michael Kinney is a 39-year-old serial killer. Entering his 16th year as a killer, he finds his 24th victim. As he plunges the blade into their chest, Michael comes to a world-shattering realization. The thrill is gone. The rush of feeling he always had received through each kill was no more. Throwing his usual caution to the wind, he tries several more victims that night, but to no avail. Across the 3 episodes, we follow Michael as he attempts to find the old thrill through any type of activities society has to offer, From extreme sports to mountaintop yoga to finding romance, will Michael ever find the thrill he longs for? And it's interesting, as God Emperor puts, an OP and ED suggestion. The OP is going to be called The Thrill Is Gone by Chet Baker, which is this very moody, relaxed, kind of low-key piano ballad of him kind of crooning about the thrill being gone. And the ending is Sugar Town by Nancy Sinatra, which is a song you probably don't know, but if you heard it, you'd be like, oh, I know that song. So just give it a listen and you'll be like, yeah, it's the Sugar Town song. The money-making pitch. The content will appeal to multiple demographics: anime fans who enjoy dark humor, people sick of anime about teenagers, as well as serving a potential avenue into anime for the true crime community. Blu-rays will be released for each episode, as well as a full box set of all three. Each release will be loaded with behind-the-scenes content, a t-shirt lined with depictions of Michael in various situations, from murder to making baked goods. So there's a lot to go on. What do we think about this?
Maybe I'm just too prudish. I don't know if I would really find myself loving watching a former serial killer do mountaintop yoga. I just don't know if that would... I just feel like I would not really want to see him living life, you know? Especially murdering several dozens of people.
I feel like this is scooping into the same style as like Way of the House Husband, of like brutal Yakuza thug bad guy.
And that's what I was thinking as well, because then you got Way of the House Husband, and you also got Sakamoto Days, both shows about people who have done pretty bad things. And yet I actually do like them. So maybe that's not even like a good enough. I'm just trying to figure out what's the difference, you know? Maybe if, for me, I know it's like making this super vanilla. If the character was like a guy addicted to video games and killing people in video games. If he was just only playing video games just to ruin it for everyone else. And he realizes that this is getting really boring. So he literally goes out and touches grass.
I was going to say,
is
the touch grass anime of, sick of anime or sick of video games?
So not only is he like sick of killing people in video games, but he's just sick of video games. So and even to that, in both of those versions in my head, I don't know if I would really want to watch 45 minutes per episode of him doing yoga and playing sports. I don't know.
Yeah, I like the idea. I think there's a lot of potential. I don't know if the 45-minute is split up amongst multiple activities. I don't know if it's like a Golden Boy where each, OVA is a different single standalone activity. I think a shorter format might yield better results. I think this is just a nod to classic 90s, 80s styling of how they released anime. There's a lot of good ideas here. I just don't know if it's enough. Andrew?
I think you either have to go like super dark comedy with it, or you have to go super slapsticky with it. And it all depends on how interesting and likable you make the main character, which adds to the twisted nature of it all. I don't know if it'll really draw in the true crime girlies all that much, to be fair.
But now I'm making comparisons between this and You, like that Netflix show about a serial killer that is trying to live life at the same time. Which,
yeah.
I mean, I liked that show, so I wonder what the deal is with this.
It's because he's hot.
Well,
I need to see a
how
picture
hot
of
does Michael need to be in this for Caroline?
Very hot, to be honest.
Because I feel like, as you mentioned,
no, it's like not even just about hotness, because I don't want to like a Ted Bundy person that is like obviously very manipulative, and I don't know, because that's also Joe from You. Like, what's the draw? What am I missing?
As Andrew said,
Why do I like serial killers?
A lot of this really revolves on how likable and engaging this Michael character is to be in his mind and like exist with for all these minutes and episodes. So he needs to be
sassy.
Risk.
That's why he needs to be sassy.
I don't know if Michael Kinney is a name that gives me sassy vibes. So
No.
I think I'm out. I think there's good ideas. It's too risky.
But I have to say that Michael Kinney does sound like an actual serial killer name. I don't know why.
Absolutely. You know, you go to Wikipedia, that name's going to have blue text and an underline.
Yeah,
I
like
think
one
you
of
have
my
to
true crime
change the
podcasts.
name.
Next episode is going to be The Crimes of Michael Kinney.
Yeah, it's too real. I think what you have to do is you have to change the name to Michael Killey, Killey, or Michael Kila, as they'll probably say in Japanese. And there you go. You add some comedy to it that makes the name a little bit more
That is kind of funny.
like palatable. And I think you don't lean into it because there's a lot of stories already about like the thrill is gone, right? Like where a character's been doing something for so long and it's just sort of like, I just don't enjoy this anymore. You got to like find some niche in there. And a serial killer could work. I think you just have to make it way more like silly in some ways, to like humorous in an odd way, for it to work.
You really have to toe a line on this one.
Mhm.
Have you guys seen the movie Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon?
No.
No.
I don't think many people have, but it takes place in this world where like all the famous serial killers like Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers, like all that stuff are real. They're real people who receive like fame and acclaim for all the killers or all the killing they've done. And we follow this guy, Leslie Vernon, who wants to be the next like superstar serial killer. So he like invites this documentary crew to like film him as he like prepares like the House of Death and all his traps and like works on his mask to become like the next big thing. And it's like half like satirical and comedic about we're following the serial killer in a very goofy way, but also like horrific as he like turns and starts to hunt down the people who are making the documentary on him. And that's kind of the one foot in each category that this anime would need to succeed in being both goofy and horrifying at the same time. And that's really hard to do. And we don't often get anime that does either well, and they're focusing on it. So it's a big ask. It could be good, but once again, too risky. I'm out. And with that, I think we all kind of agree this one's not going to make it despite its novel idea.
You're a nothing burger still. There is no tomorrow. You're dead to me when you say no to my deal. You're dead.
A lot of vicious drops on this one. Wow. But very fitting nonetheless. So, in retrospect, what did we pass? We passed, starting at the top, we got A Friend for the End of the World. The Last Girl on Earth is a Zombie from Yellow Edge 64. Yeah, that could be good. Yeah. We got Kulhan, I already forgot how to say it. Hound of Ulster, the big, dramatic Irish villain saga thing. Kuhalan, yeah. And Isekai Magic Slave, Punctuation Pending by Strinther. Sorry, the previous one was from Grandpapa. And so we passed 3, failed 3. I think that's pretty good odds. I think we picked some winners, very diverse. And I'm excited for all of these to now exist in real life, please. Thank you very much.
Indeed.
And I believe we are ready for our in-show weekly trivia question, right?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. In Flower and Asura, what type of animal is the mascot for the Broadcasting Club, and what is its name? And we'll give you the answer after the news break.
That's a tough one.
Ooh.
Anime Addicts, for those of you lining up at midnight, the wait is over. Mitsuki is here bringing you your anime news break, getting us started off with Solo Leveling, of course, because what else? Solo Leveling trading cards are apparently among Korea's top exports on eBay. So trading cards based on that webtoon, Solo Leveling, have been a standout export item from the global marketplace. According to eBay Korea's Q1 2025 report, Solo Leveling cards were the only non-Pokemon product to break into the top 10 best-selling items in the toy category, just highlighting how powerful this new IP is on a global scale. So the report, which tracks overseas sales made by Korean sellers, showed that auto parts indeed did retain the #1 spot for the 9th consecutive quarter, which is rather boring, followed by high-end camera gear and toys. And in that toy category, Pokemon cards do dominate the ranking, but Solo Leveling is also present. Next up, well, we had the Summer Games Fest, which announced a lot more than most of these other game announcements that we've had recently, including the very exciting first trailer for Resident Evil 9 Requiem, which features some possible new main characters in the franchise and you have to watch the trailer, but it looks like a possible return to Raccoon City. So for those of you that are huge Resident Evil fans, just salivate over that, and it does have a release date of February 2026. Also, it looks like the Lies of P Overture is available today. So a prequel expansion to that Souls-like action RPG is officially out, according to the Summer Games Fest. Also, Dying Light the Beast got a new release date, which is exciting for those of you that are interested in that franchise. And there's a number of other interesting properties, including Onimusha, which was featured, a new Game of Thrones title, and several others. So if you are a fan of video games, well, Summer Games Fest was pretty much where you needed to go if you wanted to see all of the really interesting titles that are coming out. Next up, and some strange news, Burger King releases the Pickleball Burger in Japan. It is, I don't think, the pickleball in terms of... it actually is. Burger King is throwing this event to celebrate a signing of a sponsorship between the Japan Pickleball Federation. So it looks to be a rice patty bun, top and bottom, with 3 beef patties and just a tremendous amount of pickles in between the patties. They're advertising it as 11 slices of pickle. So you'll be able to check that out if you're in Tokyo anytime soon. So this new offering is said to be a, quote, large American-style rice burger with 3 flame-grilled 100% beef patties sandwiched between those rice patties with the Hachidaime Gihe, a long-established rice shop in Kyoto. So pretty interesting stuff for people that live in Tokyo or just in Japan in general. I will say, though, that these sort of food collaborations don't usually end up being very good. It retails for what is a shocking $12 US in Japan, which might as well be like a fortune because that's a lot. So this was Mitsuki, and this was your anime news break. And now, time to get back to the podcast. Anime Addicts, this podcast is always hard at work bringing you all sorts of extra content for those of you that like to support the show. You know, you support the show, you do a good thing, and of course, you get rewarded for your generosity. These Hobby Addicts episodes, we're going to be talking a lot of video games coming up on Hobby Addicts. The Summer Games Fest just came out, and so did PlayStation State of Play. So many new announcements, Resident Evil, Onimusha, et cetera, et cetera. Capcom just crushing it. If you want to support the podcast, you'll be able to get so much video game talk on the Hobby Addicts to whet your appetite for gaming, because we also are all gamers. If you want to get this content, you can hear us every week by going to our Patreon page, patreon.com/AAAPodcast, or you can go to our website as well, AAAPodcast.com/join. And I will note that in this inflationary time, we haven't actually raised the price of this subscription ever. So, quite a deal for you. Probably something that most other podcasts are not doing. So again, if you want to get all this extra game talk, AAAPodcast.com/join, or Patreon will love you long time, and we will appreciate your generosity.
And now, great moments in Anime Addicts Anonymous history.
What is your video game Mount Rushmore? I would say Mega Man. Mega Man deserves to be on this list.
Nowhere near the Mount Rushmore.
Are you serious?
I'm 100% serious.
Are you kidding?
I mean, yes, Mega Man has some great games, but are you kidding me?
Dude,
Mega
you
Man
are out of your
on
mind,
the
man.
Mount Rushmore?
You're crazy. You're gonna put Master Chief that hasn't contributed anything to gaming, and you're gonna knock out. And you're
100%
gonna knock out Mega Man, which basically solidified Capcom as a game company.
And where are they now?
One of the biggest video game companies in the world, responsible for Resident Evil, a thousand arcade machines.
When was the last?
Oh my god!
When was the
I can't
last good
believe
Resident
it.
Evil?
I can't believe it.
Hasn't Capcom stopped making video games?
No, I would argue absolutely 100% without a doubt that Sonic the Hedgehog, who
Yeah.
basically founded Sega himself, is more important than Master Chief.
And he fell off a cliff just like Mega Man.
But that doesn't matter. He created an entire company. Without Sega, you wouldn't have the Genesis, the Dreamcast.
What the? Who
Ar-
cares about the Dreamcast?
Dude,
that system was.
Dude, Sega Corp is a gigantic company that makes like half of Japan's arcades.
BCom says, "Where is Sega now?
Making billions and billions of yen
In the video game industry?
Yes.
In the video game industry.
Dude, you're nuts,
What video
man.
games are they making?
They make tons of video. Dude,
What video
you're-
games?
you're only
what's
think-
what's big? What's a big
Dude.
Sega video game right now?
Dude.
What's a big?
I need you to calm
I'm
down
just
so I
asking you
can
a question.
talk.
I just want to know.
And now, back to the podcast.
What a classic moment. Oh, it brings a tear to my eye every time. When we last left you, we had a in-show trivia question. In Flower and Asura, what type of animal is the mascot for the broadcasting club, and what is its name? The answer is that it's a cat, and the name is Sumo Meow. And that was a tricky one. So congrats if you got it. If not, no worries, no shame. But as punishment, you should go submit a mailbag.
It's time for an almighty anime mailbag. Anime. Anime. Anime.
Mailbag. Bag.
All right. So as usual, you can submit mailbags to us at AAAPodcast.com and click on the mailbag button. Isn't that correct, Mason?
Yep, that's how you do it.
Okay. I was like, did Mason disappear? What's happening?
Nope.
Oh, no. Okay. So, yeah, that's the best way to do it. We're always looking for mailbags. Thank you. And this mailbag comes from listener Padams or P. Adams, but I'm going to assume it's Padams. Hey, AAA Podcast. First time mailbag submission, so bear with me. My question today is this. In your romance of choice, rom-com, drama, slice of life, which character of what anime would you choose to live their life in? If you are a male/female, you would be that male/female in the show, and it would turn out as that script plays out, you would just live as the character you choose. For me, I would choose Izumi Miyamura from Horimiya. Thanks for reviewing my mailbag. Yeah.
This is a tough
All right.
question. Are they
True.
asking, would you want to be that person because you like the partner in the relationship, or because you like the life of the person you're becoming?
I think it has to be the whole package. Like, you have to like the person you're going to be with, and you wouldn't mind living the life that they have.
That's so tricky. That's so hard. And it's
Not really,
especially
because
weird
I came
because
up with,
you're not even that person.
answer.
You're just like a shell living within that body, because it's not like you're making any decisions.
I feel like, okay, maybe putting your thought process in that you know what lifestyle this person lives, but if this were to actually happen, you would not remember what actually happens. Just think of it like that.
I think this is too metaphysically.
That's a
deep
weird
for
way
me.
to interpret that question, but you have an answer for this, Caroline?
Just
Yeah,
so
go
that
ahead.
you enjoy the life that you chose instead of actually knowing every single thing that's going to happen. I feel like my answer is pretty good. So I went into the depths of choices here, and I chose Ine from Grandpa and Grandma Turn Young Again, which is not the flashiest choice. And honestly, I've only watched a couple episodes of that anime. However,
Risky.
the fact that I get to have like a long and loving romance and grow old with somebody, and then once I hit like 80 something years old, boom, the two of us become hot youngsters again, and we can relive like some romance now as 20 somethings or like with the energy of 20 somethings, I think that's a pretty good deal. You get to have the long and loving romance and then you become young. That sounds good for me.
That is a very good pick. I think that's a good call. It's not that I don't think you know the script in advance. It's just you, as Caroline, would have no impact on that person, on the actions, because you're like locked into that track. You're just
I suppose.
I don't know. This is too deep of a question.
Well, now we're getting into the whole destiny conversation. Is it destiny? Do we have any choice in what we have? No impact.
Like? You're just like sitting in the co-pilot seat of this creature you're inhabiting.
You get to feel.
We could very well be doing that right now, Mason.
Wow. It's like VR, but you got to feel it. It's like smell-o-vision, but for like emotions.
But you're not controlling.
You get to eat the food that they would eat. You get to feel the emotions that they feel. You just get to vicariously live through that character, but actually, that's the impression that the mailbag gives off.
Yeah,
anyway.
it seems too vicarious.
I'm just like, I think of like all of them are teenagers most of the time, and I'm just like, don't want to like live those lives. Like all of the best like rom-coms that I would think of, or not even rom-coms, like slice of life and stuff like that, like Sakamichi no Paulon, would I want to be like master piano player in that moment at the school festival? That would be a great moment to live through, but I don't know if I want all the other baggage that comes along with it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You have to measure the romantic qualities with the story that you will be going through, because there are some other really good romances that I could very well want to answer with, but then a lot of the a lot of main characters in these anime have some sort of terrible experience, baggage, trauma that you would have to also live through.
You know what? I want to be the Count from the Count of Monte Cristo, where I come back and like live out my revenge fantasy.
The biggest Chad of all time.
I don't know. I think you would automatically be inserted into the main character role. So I don't know if that would be the Count in this anime. I know he is the main character of the story, but in that anime, I think the main character goes to what's his face.
But in the book, the main character is the Count.
No, but we're talking about Gonkutsuo, the anime.
I know, but I don't want to be Albert. Albert is so lame.
Well, you don't have to choose it. It's barely a romance.
What romance has mecha in it that is the coolest mecha ever?
Romeo and Juliet.
There you go.
Sure. No, I you know what? I would choose Skip Beat. There you go. I get to live out my fantasy of being a Japanese actor. Getting revenge on the boy who used me for so long.
This is
there you go, Skip Beat.
This is a great mailbag. It's just too difficult because I hate the idea of like vicariously only getting love from someone who doesn't love me, but like this entity that I am not. I am choosing to go off the rails. I'm picking Monkey D. Luffy.
Wow.
Because his romance is with adventure and being king of the pirates. And he really doesn't have any like interpersonal love kind of thing. So I would just adventure.
A sexual icon for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. I would get to just enjoy exploring this grand, opulent oceans, as well as eating the best food ever, hanging out with the boys, just having a grand old time. It's honestly a pretty base life, and I'd be on board for that.
I think that's cheating. But okay.
There's romance in that.
It's not a romance show.
In your romance of choice.
I mean, it is called Romance Dawn.
Yeah, exactly.
The first arc.
I want you to go to AniList or Mal or whatever you choose and show me the genre listing for One Piece. If it has romance, then sure. But if it doesn't, then it's not a romance anime.
Let's see. Let's put it on. I don't think it's gonna make
the newest debate for our Discord is One Piece a romance?
Yeah, we'll let the chat
join the Discord to hash out this debate with all of the fun listeners on the Discord for some great times, funny moments, and things like watch parties on Saturdays, and anime club every other Wednesday. That date might be
Yes.
changing.
I keep on saying that, but I have yet to make a poll for that.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny.
I'm sorry, guys. I just
all
don't.
right.
I like it being on Wednesdays currently. I'm all for changing the date. It's just it works out for me personally.
So, should we move on to this review?
I think
Let's
so.
do it.
Do one of you guys want to take the lead, or?
Sure, I'll take the lead.
Yeah,
all right.
there we go.
So today we are. Or is there a drop I'm supposed to wait for?
No.
No, we
All right, perfect.
after spoilers, we got one.
We are in the review, everybody, and today's review we are reviewing Flower and Asura or Ashura. This is a winter 2025 pick. Not listener's choice, if I'm mistaken. This was passed by the.
We did this.
I know. I
Andrew,
passed
you
this.
and I, we did this to ourselves.
Oh, it was me and you. Okay, so it was me. It was me. I know
and
I
some
was definitely one
others.
of the passes on this. I think Lady Emery might have been on that episode, and she was like, "Nah." But we forced it through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can watch this on High Dive, so your mileage may vary on how good that service is.
High Dive is so bad. Like,
I
why
wish
can
it was
not
better.
keep track of the anime I watch and
I
bring
know.
me to the recent episode that why is that so hard?
I know that it's unfortunate it's on High Dive, but which makes it interesting because that more or less guarantees that it's likely to get a dub more often than not. But I don't see any dub yet for this. Sorry?
No, I just
No? Okay.
just why?
All right. So the synopsis that we have here, I think Mason wrote this one up, right? Hannah's favorite pastime is reading books, narrating them to the neighborhood children. Her storytelling skills are recognized by Mizuki, the president of the school's broadcasting club, Sumo Gaoka, I think it is. And she invites Hannah to join the club. Broadcast shenanigans ensue to some extent. So this is done by the Studio Bind, which is known for doing Onimai and Jobless Reincarnation. And this is based off of a manga, so it's not an original, which I think does explain a lot also to some extent. So let's go into our expectations. And Caroline, as the person who wasn't on the Impressions episode, what were your expectations prior to going into this show?
I literally had none. Like, I didn't even know what Flower and Asura was about until I started episode 1. So I did hear briefly like the name Flower and Asura be thrown around when the season came through, but I didn't really take notice of any major conversations around it. So I don't know. I just did not expect much here.
Okay. And Mason?
Yeah, similar to Caroline, knew nothing about it, and coming out of Impressions, episode 1 was very melodramatic and slow and kind of anime-y, and I wasn't really vibing with it. But episode 2 really showed me a lot of potential. It introduced the cast, it seemed markedly stronger, it kind of showcased the interesting premise of it, and I had hopes. I essentially wasn't like completely sold on it, but I passed it in a fingers crossed half-court kind of shot of just hoping we'd get something close to decent, and came in excited to return to it.
All right, and so before the show, I don't know whose list it was on or whatever, who ranked it high enough for us to even review it. I didn't know anything about it before going into the review or the Impressions episode. I watched it. I thought there were some interesting parts. The first episode left me kind of like, oh, I can see sort of where they're going with this. I don't know if I'm going to like this main character all that much, but we'll see. And then the second episode brought in some other characters. It introduced conflicts and internal conflicts to the main character. And I think that gave me an interesting, I'm very curious to see how this show is going to go. I think it's touching on some what could be interesting ideals. I think I wrote pre-impressions based off of the poster. I thought this was going to be some boring Yuri show. And
which explains why I was the one who picked it for our selections. Now, to be fair, I rolled a 3 on our D20, which meant I had to go very deep down my list before we got to any of the shows I wanted. So this was like in the middle of my list of like, sure, girls doing cool stuff in the club. Why not?
Yeah. So, but yeah, the first few episodes I would agree are slow. At least this is pre-impressions. But it did show that it had a lot of potential, and I think that's why I was willing to pass it at the time as well. So I think we have an idea of how people more or less feel about this. I do think we are maybe a little less divisive than our last review together, but I think it's still somewhat. We may not agree, but I think it's less divisive. But I think let's go into recommendations. We'll do a recommendation sandwich, so you'll understand how this goes. Caroline, do you recommend the show?
In a word, no. In many words,
Mm-hmm.
really, no.
In many letters, no.
Because while you guys like eventually found some promise in the first couple episodes, I got to the opening and I already decided that this was not going to work. It was just not for me. Once I watched all of it, I realized what they were trying to do. And they're trying to bring all the passion and drama of sports anime into an anime where all the characters do is recite poetry. And here's some examples. Like the kids are just so overly serious in a competition that just does not feel serious to me. These are the most edgy future audiobook narrators you'll ever see. And it just feels silly. Occasionally there will be an interesting side character story, like Matsuyuki and in his side story. I thought that was the strongest one. So that when that came in, like episode 6, I'm like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Like I still don't think I'm going to love the show by the end, but at least we got a little bit of interest going. But that doesn't really carry much when there's just nothing interesting about the main character. Like there really isn't anything that she does that's interesting. She's a Mary Sue. It just, yeah. And maybe I don't get it because you can't really judge the quality of recitation, like a whole show about reciting poetry in a foreign language. But the problem is that everybody just seems good. There are no obvious trials and triumphs to deal with. Everybody gets like a fantastical animation sequence whenever they recite poetry. I feel like because those are good. I feel like those sequences are very nice looking. The problem is that I don't feel any weight behind it. Like I feel if a recitation is just okay, then maybe the fantasy sequence is losing, like, just doesn't have as many details. Like there's still a little sequence going on, but maybe the background is just a white background and you get glimpses of what this fantastical animation could be like. And maybe when they finally get what they're going for, then that's when it explodes into color and detail. That would be cool to see, but they just don't do that. They just make it all very nice. So just in conclusion here, if you want a club show, there are so many club shows with their own little, twists to it that make it fairly decent. If you want a poetry show, just go watch Rakugo Shinju. Compared to Rakugo Shinju, there just isn't much here in terms of poetry recitations. And that's it for me.
So I will recommend the show, only because it's a nice club show that I'm not going to... I think the issue does come from the language barrier more often than not. I think it is a show where I know I didn't gather everything they were saying, maybe in the way they said it, but the visuals did help with it. And I did write this as like Rakugo Shinju, but for kids, but I don't mean that in like the most negative way. I think it has potential, and I think there is, and I think this is where I think your idea works, but it doesn't work for the type of thing they're going for. They even mention it in later episodes, but there is sort of a difference between what a recitation is versus what drama is. Recitations aren't really dramatic in a way that like a Rakugo performance is theatrical in a very sense way. Recitations aren't meant to be theatrical to some extent. They're almost in a way expected to be matter-of-factly and work on the strength of their own words. And it's not just poetry, it is like passages from literature, philosophical musings, things to that effect, as explained multiple times. And I don't know if it's going fully for the passion of feels like it sometimes it may be going for somewhat the passion of like a sports show, but I don't know if they're going that crazy into it. But I think it's and I think the recitations, not the like the really beautiful animated part, but I think that is like the whole concept of it is the weaker part of the show. And I think what really stands out more in the show are like the interpersonal relationships that come up as easily as they do get resolved, sometimes more often than not. But I think they do add some nice little like coloring to all the characters. Is this like a 10 out of 10 great show that I'll recommend to everybody? No, but I think it's pretty solid. Like for what this is definitely really like the really solidly animated, really well acted. Like the voice actors are really solid at the same time. Like for what this is better than any right it had to be for the topic that we got. And in the hands of any other studio, I probably would be rating this a lot lower. But for the most part, I think I do recommend it. And you, Mason?
Yeah, this is gonna be a no for me, dog. This is the show is extremely safe and plain. It's very hand-holdy in the dialogue, the pacing, the shot selection. The show is adamant that no viewer gets left behind, and you understand in minutia everything that's going on. And while I wanted to like this show, because I like the idea of the investigations of the mechanics of communication, the Broadcasting Club is interesting and unique to me. I like seeing how the inflection breaks and how putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable changes how things sound. If you're the kind of person who is watching Dogen videos on pitch accent, like this might be your kind of show. And as a podcaster, I'm often very aware of how I'm saying things as much as what I'm saying. And I think this is insightful in a lot of ways. That said, the characters are really a glaring weak point. They're basic, they're unoriginal, they're not compelling either as individuals or as a group. The show is just very forgettable, very tepid. There's very little value. This is not a memorable show in pretty much any way. 2 months from now, I'm going to be like, yeah, I watched this, but like, it's just going to fade away. This is not going to be beloved, remembered. There's just nothing to it. And so much of what it does is done drastically better in multiple other avenues. So you really have to be starved of any content for me to even think about recommending this, which I still wouldn't. It's really kind of just flat. As much as promises I saw, it didn't deliver on anything. It felt very rudimentary, and we're going to get into all of it with hot goss and not many spoilers because there's really not much to spoil in this show. But
no, there's a little spoiler at the towards in the last couple episodes.
It's barely
anything. But it's more funny than.
So here's your spoiler drop. If you don't want to be spoiled, here's your dropping out point. But we're gonna forge ahead.
Spoilers are coming. Oh my god!
God, this show was terrible. This was so bad. Oh my!
It was okay, Mason. Chill. No, it was not that bad.
No, it really was. It really was.
I think you're being a little dramatic there, Mason.
The fast forward button was tempting me a little bit.
I think you're being a little dramatic there that this is that terrible.
It really is. It really is awful on a lot of fronts. Like, is it offensive?
I love how you took spoiler territory as in you will completely unleash all of the feelings that you kept hidden in spoiler-free recommendations.
I don't think there was a single aspect of the show that it did well.
They brought in a cat girl best friend that gets 3 scenes. Why do they get a cat girl best friend in 3 scenes? Why was she necessary?
Because she pairs with Lost Dog Hana, who just is just so clueless about everything that they needed a cat to go with her.
Yeah.
So
that I think that was the worst part of the show for me is Hana constantly repeating something that somebody said because she doesn't get it. She has no critical thinking skills. Like, you can either do a recitation or an announcing category. Recitation? We got music requests. music requests? Jesus Christ, Hannah.
But it wasn't just her. It wasn't just her. Every character did
She
this.
did most of it, though.
She did. But some of my favorites were just like, I wrote down my dream. Dream? ? I'm going to be a poet. Poet ? Someone who writes poems. Like, this show was so handholdy across the board. And a lot of that was just, every scene Hana was in was very bland. And there were some better interactions between, like, Anne and Shudai, essentially these two characters who kind of have a rivalry going from previous schools that have a different, mindset and way of doing things. Like, that was much better. But any scene that Hana was in, which is most of them, was very subpar. And the characters they introduced, while I did see promise in how, they have different skill sets and how they bring those different skills to the broadcasting club to announce things and explain things and present things differently, they really just are as tropey and baseline as possible. And then they just dump up a bucket of other subpar characters through this like interschool training arc that just bloats things further and really doesn't add any emotional beat. That any of these little side stories, which, by the way, were so poorly paced with just, okay, it's a new episode, we're going to have one issue between two characters and keep it super simple and just really speed run this whole little emotional arc they're going to go on. It was almost comedic in a way of how plain and simple and unorganic it was. It was just so flat. And if every, Caroline, you kind of mentioned it, if every recitation blows characters away, they don't feel special. They're just makes everyone feel dramatic and dumb. If like a character starts and they're like midnight and our main character goes
yeah, they get immediate goosebumps
chills.
And I'm like,
I don't feel that.
Don't think
that's
so.
not communicated to the viewer. Other shows can explain the power of poetry and all of that. But this show doesn't. And for that being the one trick bag it has, I didn't think it did a good job. I know I'm just unloading a bunch of scattershot things. What do you guys think?
Honestly,
the show did well?
If you take a look at my cons list, I will be doing that later. So
I mean,
just get all the bad stuff out of the way.
But that's the whole show. That's the whole review.
I mean, you guys, if you're going to hate on the show, you might as well do it all in one big shot.
Okay, pretty much every episode is just half of the show. They talk about the technical side of arranging a presentation, how to pronounce things, some sort of skill set, and then the other half is about characters poetically talking about competing or what broadcasting means to them, and it's all just, okay, this is the episode where Glasses-kun doesn't feel confident in what he's doing, and then one character tells him, it's okay, if you're not confident about everything, the things you feel good about, those still give you value. And he says, wow, cool, I feel better now. And then the episode ends. Like, it's very basic on pretty much every level. It's not ambitious, writing-wise, animation-wise, music-wise. Anytime they try to do a cut that might require complex animation, braiding hair, playing piano, they always cut away. The laugh flaps. The show is nothing but talking. The laugh flaps suck. Like, this is the kind of show where 6 characters are sitting at a table and they all sit Last Supper style on one side because they didn't want to show any different camera angles. It's just basic. This is baby's first anime.
Yeah, and speaking of basic, let's just rattle off more things I don't like about Hana. She's really, really boring. She's just like the standard good girl, can do something good and everybody likes her because she's good at this one thing. Yes, she's boring, as I mentioned, a Mary Sue, and then the whole zero critical thinking skills. Like, for example, she is so shocked that she has to compete against her classmates in a competition that few people get to advance in. She knew all of those things before, and yet it took one girl saying, you probably can't expect you to advance in this competition with everybody in your club. And she's like, what? Huh? Nani? Oh, come on, Hannah.
So
like,
there are like foundations of her. Like her like having a naturally good voice, but having to work on the technical side and coming to grips on like how she's deficient compared to others is interesting and is engaging, and there is potential for her to, work and train and practice those skills, but we don't really get that. She just acknowledges it, and then we move on. We don't really see these plot points that emerge from earlier in the season coming back full circle. They're just kind of either left hanging or immediately addressed with no really follow-up to it. So there's potential in her interest of character and how her style of being more expressive and how her, forging these skills by speaking to children versus adults, like, could change on how she does her thing. But that's really just very surface level and not a core part of what makes the show go. There's no plot, and even worse, there's no story to a lot of this.
Yeah. And another silly little thing relating sort of to that. So in the first episode, Mizuki just so happens to be on this random island. Why? Inspiration. I don't know. She's not even writing anything, so I don't know what she needs the inspiration for. She sees a girl reading who just so happens to be very good at it, despite it being like a literal children's book. And just so happens that this random girl is going to be starting at her random school across the ocean the next day. And so everything is just like, it's falling so perfectly into place that she's going to convince this very random girl to join her club. That I know that might be a nitpick in any other show, but it's just another little sprinkle of silliness on an already kind of silly show.
But not haha silly. Like, oh, it's the day before a competition and our classmate got captured by her parents to attend a family's wedding. Like, it's just,
I know.
Yeah, there are serious issues of family abuse and relationship hierarchy and all that stuff, but it's so weakly presented as, oh, well, what if she was just captured? Let's go rescue her.
Yeah.
It's
and
just
so that follows
eye-rolling.
follows under my melodramatic umbrella on my cons list. So that's on there. The fact that she's being held hostage by her own family, which little silly in this show. But on top of that, everyone is focusing on the fact that Mizuki won't be able to go to this stupid competition. Not that she's literally being held hostage by her family. I feel like they should be focusing on that part a little bit more. Hana going to the ocean at the break of dawn, in the rain, in her PJs, to recite a dramatic poem. Twice she does this. The girls this is peak sports anime for me. The girls in the club getting frustrated that they heard a great recitation by somebody who's far better than them. So then they yell their desires at the water that they're gonna get better. I want to be a champion. It's cringe.
What about all the pseudo Yuri components of, oh, let's do a school broadcast together. It's okay, I'll go easy on you. It's your first time. And like making this whole like sexual innuendo of talking about stuff. It was so simple in so many ways. And I felt like it never tried to be anything other than just, let's have the most plain things happen. It's a very watchable show because it bends over backwards to just not shake the boat. It's first time director and every shot is as textbookly bland as possible. And that's really, at the end of the day, the presentation is weak and the writing was just very underwhelming. I don't know. Friggy, start giving us why
I still have more to say, but you can go ahead, Friggy, if you want.
I'm just trying to break up
Get all the hate out of the way. Get all the hate out of the way.
Okay, so I'll continue. People are sorry, Friggy.
Oh, no. It's okay. Just get all the hate out of the way. People love the hate. Just get all the hate out of the way.
Well, now everybody's going to think I'm automatically a hater. I'm not. I'm just very particular about my shows. Yeah, so there's this one thing that everybody has like full like knowledge of poems in their brain. Like they know it by heart and then they will recite it at a moment's notice. So it's almost like they are in a musical and they're just breaking out into song because it's a musical. But instead, it's like based in real life anime about people who like to do poetry. But they'll just burst out into poetry at a moment's notice, and everybody's acting very like, oh my gosh, that was beautiful. Like, no, they'll be like, what are you doing, you silly goose?
I
Just
mean,
breaking out into poetry like that.
it's understandable that people who spend all day practicing for know it. Yes, it is goofy that they break out in it, but
Yeah, that's the thing.
I picture, drama kids like breaking out in song randomly throughout. Like, I get it.
I don't break out into song. I was a drama kid, and I wasn't like
in high school.
One day more.
Fair.
No, actually, I might do it for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
But I would not do a full rendition of One Day More from Les Mis.
Yeah, when you're goofing off.
Maybe if everybody joined in, but not as a solo.
Yeah, when you're goofing off with the crew, I could see it a little bit here and there, but not like everyone hold your horses for 4 minutes. I'm about to. I don't know.
And everybody's like at attention and just intently listening,
Mm-hmm.
So that was another thing. Also, maybe this is also a nitpick. The broadcasting club doesn't really do any broadcasting. Like, they do their lunchtime announcements, and yet they have this huge setup. And I'm like, what do you use all this setup for? Like, I guess they did say it's like a new thing, so they might not know how to use it. But only one of the characters in this fairly large group in this club has any special interest in what broadcasting is. All of them are more focused on public speaking. Like, it should be a public speaking club, if anything. Like, that makes more sense. So I don't know if it's just like, this is what broadcasting clubs are in Japan. I don't even know if this is a real competition. It doesn't even, I don't think that there would be as much of an interest in this competition as it actually is.
I mean, I could see it being a thing. I guess my issue is more of just every time they show the characters in the broadcasting club room, which they do quite often because that's where they hang out most of the time, they have to show you the sign on the door that says broadcasting club so you don't get confused that the people you've been watching for 10 episodes are in the room they've been in for 10 episodes, which is the broadcasting club room. They need to spell that out every single time, just in case, you might forget about that.
And finally, on my cons list, I feel like we just don't know much about what the competition entails. Like, we get like a few guidelines, but what's the rubric? Why have we not had scenes of them going through the different technical skills that they will need to succeed in this competition and like pointing out, like, okay, your strong point is this, your weak point is this. It seems very arbitrary. And it doesn't help that everybody's just arbitrarily good at it. So,
well, I think the big thing is this is a show that is full of characters who are getting ready to compete in a speech competition, and we don't get any of that speech competition. Like, it doesn't happen. There is no. This is Haikyuu, but they don't play any volleyball.
Have a hostage plot, Mason. They had to do that.
Like, why did we take time with learning all these other schools and their people for like multiple episodes? And doing this whole like capture, like, why didn't we get to the competition at least a little bit? That's the big selling point. That's the big uniqueness.
I can kind of see why they ended it there, but I feel like if they're going to end it before the competition happens, more focus of the show should be on something other than they are going to a competition. Like, it should be based on learning the craft,
Yeah.
And then it's like, we are building ourselves up to get better, and eventually we will make it to the competition next season, which would make sense.
Ready, Andrew?
Oh, those were some points for sure.
Okay, what do you disagree with?
Solid. Well, first of all, for someone whose one of their favorite franchises is High School Musical, whose first movie hinges on entirely coincidences, I don't know how you can be so nitpicky on the coincidence
because it's
factor.
fun.
That's just story structure. That's just story structure sometimes. Like, you have to suspend disbelief that some situations are going to happen to just get a story to start. I used to sort of be like that, and then someone explained, I'm like, well, that's sort of like the nature you take when you buy into like story structure. Like, a lot of it is going to be like conveniences sometimes just to get its story.
But you can do it well and you can do it not well. And I think there's a difference.
Yeah, and I think this does it fine. I don't think it did it poorly or any more poorly than a lot of other mediums out there. I think Mason, unfortunately, again, I guess I'm gonna have to use this similar thing is unless a show is very esoteric, I don't think you enjoy them anymore.
I
Um,
really don't think so.
Well, I guess
like,
what
I don't think the show was terrible. I think you're buying
Right
into
now,
like
I'm thoroughly enjoying Rock is a Lady's Modesty. That's not very esoteric.
so it is not in a lot of different ways. Um, so yeah, I'm not gonna say this show is like A-tier anime in any way, shape, or form, but I think it's like a solid B-tier anime in a lot of ways. I think that the characters and their quirks, yeah, sure, the drama gets resolved pretty quickly, but also I think one of the things I do disagree with you as well is that I think changing the concept of the show is just essentially might as well have just made an original show instead of adapting a manga. One of the unfortunate natures of adaptation is sometimes you are following what happened in the manga to some
Okay,
extent.
but you can't.
Uh,
We're not in the business of saying, "Oh, this was a great anime. I just wish the manga was different." We're basing it on what it is.
well, no, but that's essentially how you're saying how the anime is structured, following what the manga did to some extent. So either
They're a
you're
package deal. I'm not
to some
going
extent.
to say, like asterisk. I didn't like the show, but I'm sure that it's all the manga's fault. It's a package deal.
No, I'm not. I'm saying where they cut off. That I think that's the problem sometimes with uh, adaptations of manga is that the manga itself is building up towards this thing that it can build over a while. And then I think the other thing you might run into sometimes if you do it, I think the way you're suggesting is either they cut out a lot more content or they deviate from a lot of things that are probably obviously going to happen later on in the manga or in the anime if it got a second season as well. Yeah, as is, it is an incomplete work for sure because it clearly feels like it should have been probably either 24 episodes or um or it needs a second season announced, and none of those are currently the case. And I think that is also a flaw with the show for the most part as well. Um, I don't. I think sure maybe some of the character animations in conversations is a little bit weak and a little bit more static, but I think they do put a pretty decent effort into the reading sequences as well. And I so I think those do look pretty nice, and I think it does convey the emotion of what's going on. Because sometimes you're just listening to all of this Japanese being said, and it just doesn't feel the same. And I think some of it does come from the fact that we are what English language first speakers, and even if we do have a knowledge of Japanese, even if with Mason's like larger knowledge of Japanese, it's still to some extent passing and fleeting. With we're missing sometimes a lot of the nuance that may come from some of it as well. And I think that is also one of the cons and weaknesses of the show is that one, I don't know how well this is going to adapt into English. And two, I think the fact that it does rely heavily on like Japanese literature is one of the weaker points in for the show because it does provide this barrier to the show in a lot of ways. And I'm not gonna go to bed and say this is the best show ever. I don't know if it deserved as much hate as Mason heaped on it to some extent, but I'm not. I'm gonna say that it was solid enough. It kept me engaged. I think the pacing could have been a little bit better as well. I'm not going to disagree with that point to some extent. And it really felt like we were waiting until like really good reading sequences. And yeah, I did kind of find the surreal situation of that she is a rich girl and her family kidnapped her. Like when Glass's kid brought up that, oh, I've heard of the situation before where they just kidnapped them. I'm like, oh, that's silly. It's probably not gonna be that. And then it was that, and I'm like, that's silly show. Come on.
And I like how the character said that too. They said like that's kind of pushing it. That's a little outrageous. Like cool your jets with the crazy theories. And they're like, unless. And
you know it's ridiculous and silly, and I'm gonna say that was like probably like really silly, but I think they just needed to end the show in like 12 episodes. Sadly, I think if we maybe do get a second season, it'll show the tournament, or at least the preliminaries, which will probably give us more of that rubric, a little bit more recitations, a little bit better like animation sequences of all the recitations. But for the most part, I don't think the show is like poo-poo garbage, like out there. This isn't what's a show? I don't know. I wouldn't go that crazy. I don't know. What was that one with the girls at the end of the world, but it's like an alien invasion again that you love,
Dead
Mason?
Demons.
Yeah. I would put this on par with that in
description.
terms of like enjoyability.
Wow. Cutting deep.
I'm just saying, Mason. I can appreciate the esoteric without saying it's the worst thing ever, and I think maybe you're heaping too much praise on it because it is esoteric when it actually is just pretty normal. Whereas, Hannah and Ashura or whatever is just normal, and maybe it's not so esoteric, but it's an okay show, and I can view them both as very solid shows and appreciate them in very similar ways, and also in very different ways.
I disagree with that, because even if this was you defining it as like, oh, but this is not esoteric, so therefore you don't like it. No, it's just boring. There just isn't much to it. The characters are bland. The dialogue is bad. The poetry, even though the animations are very nice, I don't want more animations. I want more meaningful things happening. Like if the most interesting thing in your show is poetry written 100, 200 years ago or something, and nothing else, then you're really just basing it on good poetry. So the fact that they are making a show based on good poetry or good storytelling or whatever, and yet they can't do the same, that seems like they're just trying to throw something together. So if the characters aren't good, the dialogue isn't good, the animation is passable, and they just have this one little gimmick they do every time that a poetry reading is good, which is every time, it's not interesting. It's not good.
Just admit it, Caroline. There just wasn't enough hot guys in this for you. I agree. There could have been more hot women for me as well, and I would have probably given the show a higher rating.
No, but look, the one girl's blonde with a snaggletooth. Isn't that hot?
I mean,
cat girl. Isn't that hot?
Basically, I feel like you put the show pretty low to begin with, and we're barely going to give it a chance. So I think some of the criticisms you have are a little bit harsher than I think you would go with it.
I did say that there were some good, or at least somewhat interesting side character stuff happening in the midpoint of the show. But by the end of it, as Mason said, I'm going to forget about this in 2 months.
I mean, yeah, most shows we watch we're going to forget about in 2 months because we watch so many.
No, this one I'm going to forget more of, I think. Because I remember Dead Demons.
I didn't.
Is it too court? And it's just based on preferences. I like good shows and you don't.
Ooh, got it.
Oh, that's cute.
No. I didn't actually mean that. I didn't actually mean that.
Are we ready to score this? This is the most teeter-totter
score the show.
review. Let's just load up all the hate on the first half and just generally... No, it's all hate. I'll go first. This was not good across the board. Very basic. I'm going to give it 1.5 midnight out of 5.
We'll end it positively with you, Fridgie, so I'll go next. It has its good points. It has some good fantasy animation. It has interesting side characters, more interesting than the main character at least. And the sound quality was very nice. The voices were crisp. I enjoyed that. It's just it was fun to review because I love ranting. And I'll put that in favor for a review score. So I will give this 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5?
2? Yeah, it's a number that comes after 1 and before 3.
I guess I'll put it. I disagree with how harshly you guys have rated this. Obviously, I would say that It could have used more hot boys or girls in the show to alleviate some of the issues that the show does have.
That's going to be a lot of heavy lifting.
You know what? From the studios that have brought us Jobless Reincarnation, which is full of just terrible people, it's nice to know that they can make a show with pretty normal people in it. So I'm going to give this show 3.5. Maybe The Ordinary isn't as ordinary as you think it is and could be slightly more extraordinary than you gave it credit for out of 5.
There you go. Same as Sakamoto days for you.
And just to that point, there are some ordinary shows, like Skip and Loafer. That was a very ordinary story, and yet it was very entertaining and fun and cute.
Well, and also had really good characters and messages and like...
Exactly, and yet ordinary. I'm just saying that there's a difference.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, yeah.
With that,
I don't know what...
Sorry for being very negative about a show that some people may enjoy.
That's fine. Thank you all for listening to this wacky and crazy episode of the Anime Addicts Anonymous Podcast. Hope you had fun. Hopefully we got your blood boiling with some weird and hot takes. Once again, go to AAAPodcast.com, submit a mailbag, leave a review, submit a Shark Tank if you want. We're still doing them. A bunch of fun. We're about to record a hentai episode, so it's going to be even more hot and spicy coming up in a little bit. But with that, I will leave you with the knowledge that next week, not only is Mitz coming back, we're doing a review of Solo Leveling Season 2. So get excited. If you want, place your bets in the Discord, and we will see you all next week. Have a good one, everyone.
Also, shout out to the Discord Anime Club meeting every other Wednesday, 9 p.m. ET, though we are considering changing the day and time, quote unquote. On June 18th, we are discussing Violet Evergarden, which should be a good club. So please join. Thanks.
See you, everyone. Bye.